So in all honesty, Kathy, who works with me, Kathy, wave your hand. Kathy helped me find Harriet Tubman. It wasn't easy. We called different libraries all throughout Springfield, all throughout the state, left messages, emailed, and eventually I got an email back with some contact information, and a couple days later, I talked to Harriet Tubman. But before she's Harriet, she's Kathryn Harris. She's a real person with a real name, and so I have a little bit of information about Kathryn, our friend, who we're so honored to welcome today. Kathryn lives in Springfield and was born in Carbondale. She was one of 10 kids. And when she was about your age, about 4th, 5th grade, she read biographies, including one about her favorite, who of course was Harriet Tubman. So Kathryn has achieved an impressive career in library services, as well as being a successful and vocal advocate for the library and for Illinois history. Her career began at the Lincoln Library in Springfield. Then she went on to work in Florida International University Library. Then she was at a medical school library, then the Illinois State Library, then the Illinois State Historical Library, and ultimately the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Library that everyone should go to at least once in their life. So Kathryn's passion for history led to her post-library career as a first-person historical presenter. She's well known for her one-woman show in which she portrays Underground Railroad conductor Harriet Tubman, a former slave herself who led up to 300 slaves to freedom in the North via a secret and illegal network of safe houses, and this is all while carrying a bounty on her head. And without a doubt, Harriet Tubman is one of the most recognized icons in American history. And you may have some questions after Harriet speaks to us, so save it to the end of her presentation. And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce Harriet Tubman.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Now that's more like it. I want to thank y'all for inviting me. I want to thank y'all for inviting me so I can tell you about the work that I've done on the railroad. Now you may think it odd that I, a woman, worked on the railroad, but I did work on the railroad. The Underground Railroad, that is. Now, before I go any further, I have to tell you something, so there won't be no misunderstanding. The Underground Railroad, why, it wasn't even underground. The Underground Railroad, it wasn't even a railroad in the true sense of the word. So if it wasn't underground, and it wasn't a railroad, then what, pray tell, was it? Well, I'm going to tell you that too. You see, what the railroad was, it was a network. It was a connection of people and places. Now, the people who work on this railroad, they belong to a group called themselves abolitionists. Now, they was white abolitionists, they was colored abolitionists too. But you see, they all work together for the same reason. You see, an abolitionist believes that slavery is wrong. An abolitionist believes that families ought not be separated. An abolitionist believes that mamas ought not have their babies ripped out their arms and sold away, never to be seen again in life. And abolitionists believe that no man should own another. Now, I said the railroad was a connection of people and places, and I've told you a little bit about the people. So now I'll tell you a little bit about the places. Now, the places on this railroad, and we call those places stations, why a station might be a barn. It might be a cellar. It might be an attic. Might be the back of a wagon. It might be the forest, the swamps, all outside. Because you see what the railroad really was a way to free them of the escaped slaves. One more thing about that railroad was also secret, and it was also illegal, but it was a way to freedom. I didn't tell you my name, did I? I didn't tell you my name, did I? No. Well, my name is Harriet Tubman. Folks call me Moses. Y'all know about Moses in the Bible, don't you? Y'all know about Moses in the Bible, don't you? Y'all know that Moses in the Bible led his folks from slavery to freedom. And since I, Harriet Tubman, have led my folks from slavery to freedom, folks call me Moses too. Now, I was born a slave. I was born in Dorchester County, Maryland. I was born in 1820. Of course, now it could have been 1821. It could have been 18 and 22. Might even been 18 and 23, because you see, don't nobody care about no slave having a birthday. But I was born because I'm standing here before you today. Now, on that plantation there in Dorchester County, Maryland, was owned by a man whose name was Master Brodus. And on Master Brodus's plantation, I worked out in the timber. And I got to be as strong as any man. But you see, I had heard about something called freedom. And I decided I wanted to have me some of that. So in 1849, I decided that I was going to be free. And with the help of those kindly abolitionist folks, I got to my freedom. You see, those kindly abolitionist folks told me that when I got, not if I got, but when I got from Dorchester County, Maryland to Philadelphia, that I would be free. And I want y'all to know that with their help, I got to Philadelphia. And I got to my freedom. Now, when I got there to Philadelphia, I looked at my hands. I looked at my feet. Same hands, same feet. Except for one thing. They was free! And such a glory come over me was almost more than I could stand. Those kindly abolitionist folks also told me that when I got there to Philadelphia, I should look for a man whose name was Mr. William Steele. Now, Mr. William Steele was a free colored man. He was not a slave. Mr. Steele was an important colored man as well. You see, Mr. Steele was the secretary to the Anti-Slavery Society right there in Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. But more important than all of that, Mr. Steele was a station master on the Underground Railroad. So like I said, I got there in Philadelphia in 1849, and I stayed there for 2 years. And while I was there, I hired myself out as a cook and a washerwoman. And with the money that I earned, I give it back to Mr. Steele, because you see, it takes money to operate the Underground Railroad. So Mr. Steele and I, we got to be very fast friends. And he taught me all about the operation of the Underground Railroad. So in 1851, Mr. Steele decided that since I, Harriet Tubman, had made my own escape to freedom with the help of those kindly abolitionist folks that I told y'all about, he decided that I might be the kind of person who could be a conductor on his railroad. So in 1851, I started making my trip as a conductor on the Underground Railroad. And I want y'all to know, the very first stop that I made as a conductor on the railroad, I went right back to Dorchester County, Maryland. I went right back to Master Brodus's plantation. And I took away the freedom, my brothers and their families. Took them all the way up into Canada, where they could truly be free. Now, over time, I made about 13 trips on that railroad. I led scores of my people from slavery to freedom. On that railroad, we mostly traveled at night. We hid in the day. At night, we followed that North Star. We followed that drinking gourd. Sometimes we even follow the moss that grows on the north side of the trees, because you see, all roads that lead north, they lead to freedom. Long about 1855, that's when I was doing some of my best work. Those Maryland plantation owners, they had a reward. They had a bounty for my capture. They had them posters, wanted Harriet Tubman, dead or alive. That bounty money started off at about $12,000. But by the time 1855 come on, that money had grown all the way to $40,000. But you know what? Nobody never could claim it, because nobody never could catch it. And I'm going to tell you why. It's because I, Harriet Tubman, I never run my train off the tracks, and I never lost a passenger. All of those who traveled with me, they all got the freedom. Pretty soon, we start hearing about a rumbling of a war, and that war come on in 1861. That'd be the Civil War, you know. But before I tell you about what I done in the war, I have to tell you about my last trip that I made as a conductor on the Underground Railroad. I made that last trip as a conductor on the railroad long about 1859, 1860. Told y'all about that plantation where I was born there in Dorchester County, Maryland, owned by Master Brodus. Well, by the time 1860 come on, Master Brodus, he died. I didn't shed a tear for him. But before he died, he sold his property to a man whose name was Old Doc Thompson. 1860, Old Doc Thompson had some property that meant a great deal to me. So in 1860, on my last trip as a conductor on the railroad, I went right back to Dorchester County, Maryland. I went right back to Old Doc Thompson's plantation. This time I spirited away to freedom my aging mama and my aging papa. Took them up into Canada, where they could join with my brothers and their family, and the whole family be free. But like I said, we start hearing about the rumblings of a war. And that war come on in 1861. And in that war, I, Harriet Tubman, I served as a scout, a spy, and a nurse in Mr. Lincoln's army. Never did get no fair pay for my service, but I done it anyhow because it was for the cause of freedom. Well, that war run on till 1865. Then in April of 1865, we had that Appomattox surrender. Back in 1863, Father Abraham, he gave out that Emancipation Proclamation. That surrender there in April of 1865 and the ratification of the 13th Amendment right there in December of 1865. So that was the end of slavery in these here United States. So it wasn't no more need for the railroad, so it just closed up. But I'm gonna tell you, even at the close of the war, there was still work to do for the cause of freedom. And I, Harriet Tubman, I did that work as well. The close of the war, I worked for the Freedmen's Bureau. Now, do y'all know what the Freedmen's Bureau is? I knew some of you would and some of you wouldn't, so I know I'd have to tell you. The Freedmen's Bureau, funny as it might sound, was set up by the federal government at the close of the war to help them former slaves learn how to be free. You see, what that Freedmen's Bureau done was taught them former slaves how to present themselves for work. They already knew how to work, hadn't been a slave long, but how to present themselves for work, get paid for their labors, keep the money for themselves, and be their own masters for a change. But I'm gonna tell you, the best thing that Freedmen's Bureau done was taught them former slaves how to read and write. Because in slavery days, it's the law to teach a slave how to read and write. Well, told y'all about my mom and my papa that I took up into Canada. Well, at the close of the war, I went back up into Canada and I brought them back across the falls. That be Niagara Falls. And I settled in a place called Auburn, New York. And that's where I live today. I live in Auburn, New York. And it is there that I take care of my aged mama and my aged papa. But you see, I've also opened my home to other former slaves who's getting old and up in years and don't have no one to care for them. So the folks there in Auburn say that I operate an old folks home. And I reckon I do, right there in Auburn, New York. So now I mostly just reflect. I think about the work that I done on the railroad. And I want y'all to know that working on the railroad, it was hard work, it was risky work, and it was dangerous work. But you know what? I'm mighty glad that I done it.
On behalf of the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District, our Board of Commissioners, our President, Vice President, our Affirmative Action, Diversity Department, the Black History Committee, our Executive Director, and every employee represented here at the district on today. It is our pleasure to present you with this resolution. To present you with this resolution from our organization, just as a token to say thank you so much for coming and giving such an awesome presentation. We all learned a lot. We benefited so wholly from it, and we are truly grateful. Along with that, of course, we have a picture for you. And as stated to you, you will be receiving your award to your home that you can actually put with your picture and with your resolution. So thank you so much for coming.
And I thank you all for inviting me.